Hi, scholars. This is Miss Mailer, and today we are going to be reading a story. Before we get started on your story, we are going to be looking at some very important things to remember while we are reading. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you. So the first thing we need to remember while we are reading is that we point under each word. So scholars, I'm going to be saying the statement, and then I want you to say it with me. Here we go. I'm going to say it first. I can point under each word. Say it with me. Here we go. I can point under each word. Good job, scholars. Our next one, I'm going to read it first. I can read from left to right and from top to bottom. Let's do it together. I can read from left to right and from top to bottom. Good job, scholars. Let's do our last one. I'm going to read it first. I can tell the difference between a letter and a word. Let's do that together. I can tell the difference between a letter and a word. Okay, now that we know what we can do after we learn what we're doing, after we learn what we're learning in our lesson today, let's look at our important words of our lesson. Okay, scholars, the first important word is the word track. Track means to look at someone or something. Let's look at the first picture on this slide. This little girl is tracking her teacher, or she is looking at her teacher. She is tracking. Let's look at the second picture. This little girl is tracking her story, or she is looking at her story. Awesome. Let's look at our next word, scholars. Our next word is letter. A letter is a single letter that makes one sound and is part of a word. So the letters that we know are part of our alphabets. The A, B, C, D, E, F, G's, those are our letters, scholars. All right, so a letter is a single letter that makes one sound and is part of a word. Let's look at our next word. Our next word is the word word. A word is made up by multiple letters. So for example, we have the word in. The word in is made up of I and N. The letters I and N make the word in. The next word we have on our screen is the word the. The word the is made up by the letters T, H, E. 1, 2, 3 letters make the word the. Awesome. Okay, now that we know our important words for our lesson today, we're going to look at our anchor charts just to remember what we need to do as good readers. So our first one, good readers touch each word while we're reading a story. Good readers touch each word. Now, scholars, here's my question for you. Do good readers touch the top of the word? No. Do good readers touch over the word? No. What about this? Do good readers touch under the word? Yes, you got it right. Good readers touch under each word so that we know which word we are reading and we can read it. Awesome. Let's look at our next one. Good readers read from left to right and from top to bottom. Let's do that again. Good readers read from left to right and from top to bottom. Good job, scholars. Let's look at this next one. This next one talks about letters and words. These right here are letters. A, B, C, D, E, F, They're part of the alphabet. They are letters, and they are all by themselves. If you put letters together, you can make words. For example, this is the word fox. It's made up by 3 different letters: the letter F, the letter O, and the letter X. 1, 2, 3 letters make up the word fox. Awesome, scholars. Our last anchor chart that we're looking at today is our sentences anchor chart. While we are looking at sentences, we need to remember that we put words together to make sentences. This sentence says, the apple is red. 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 4 words in this sentence. And I also noticed that between each word, there's something called a space. We separate words by spaces so that we know where words begin and end. The space, apple, space, is, space, red. Awesome, scholars. Now that we're done looking at our important words and what we can do after this lesson and all of our important anchor charts, we're going to go ahead and get started with our reading. Okay. So, scholars, today we are going to be reading the story Humpty Dumpty. It's a nursery rhyme, and I'm sure you've heard this one before. If you have read the story Humpty Dumpty before, put a finger in your nose. Ooh, I see a lot of scholars who have read this one. This is a good one. Okay, scholars, while we read this story today, I want us to practice all the skills we've learned so far that good readers do. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started with our reading, scholars. Let's look. There you go. Now you can see it. Humpty Dumpty. Scholars, I don't know where to point to start reading. Well, I know I read from the top of the page to the bottom of the page. So I need to point somewhere on the top. Oh, I also know that I read from this side to this side, or from left to right. So if I'm pointing at the top of the page and I start on the left side, oh, I know, I start by pointing under this word. Okay, so I'm going to start reading here. Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall. Scholars, how am I going to read this word? How can Miss Mailer read this word? What's wrong? Oh, it's covered up by my finger because I forgot where to point. I need to stop and think, where do good readers point while they're reading? Do they point over the word? No. Do they point on top of the word? No, because then we can't see what we're reading. Oh yeah, scholars, now I remember. I need to point under the word. That way I can see what I'm reading and my finger is pointing at that word. Okay, I think I'm ready to read now. Let's keep reading. Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. Uh-oh. Scholars, I forgot. Where do I point now? Do I point at this word? Do I start reading here? No, that's in the middle of the sentence. Oh, I remember. I need to start reading on the left side. So I'm going to point at this word. But I can't read it. Oh, silly Miss Mailer, that's right. You're not supposed to point on top of the word, then you can't read it. You need to point under the word. There we go. So now I know that I need to point under the word on the left side. Let's read. All the king's horses and all the king's men tried to put Humpty together. Wait, scholars, should I point here while I read? No, I shouldn't. Good readers point under the words, not under the spaces. There's nothing for me to read here in the space. That's right. Okay. Let's try reading that sentence, or that line again, because Miss Mailer was so silly and she messed up. Tried to put Humpty together again. There we go. That sounded better. I pointed under each word and read from left to right. Okay, so scholars, I have an important question for you. Where do good readers point while they read? Once you know, raise your hands and your teacher will ask you to share. Teachers, now is a good time for you to pause the video. Scholars, you are so right. Good readers point under the words while they read. Awesome. Now, I have one more question for you, scholars. Which way do good readers point while they read? Which way do you point? Once you know, raise your hand and your teacher will ask you to share. Teachers, now is a good time for you to pause the video. Scholars, you're right. Good readers point from left to right while they read. Awesome job. Okay, scholars, you are awesome readers. Good job reading that with me today. And today, this is the end of our lesson. I had so much fun reading with you today, and I cannot wait until we read next time. Bye, scholars.